Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I just realized that music was really intense, so now we're gonna listen to the fish music. Welcome to the stream. Let me turn this down. Hopefully it's decent volume. How are you all doing today? Dylan King, welcome. Family Gamers, hello. Jack Rabbit, welcome. Hi Velka, how are you? So today, everyone, I'm going to be doing two main things. First of all, we're going to be waiting for the weekly Friday community crunch, which, as you probably know, is basically their sort of Wildcards press release where they put out recent news about whatever they're working on. But usually it's just community-focused stuff. But you all probably already know that. So we're going to be waiting for that. It should be coming out in about an hour, and we're going to check it out, look over everything, get all of your thoughts, because I'm really curious to know what all of you think about ASA in the future of ARK as a franchise, what you're doing in the game right now, that kind of thing. So in the meantime, though, up until then, I'm going to be going through some essentially tips and things that I've learned about making Machinima in ARK. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. For any of you who want to make your own cinematics, Machinima, whether or not that's with ARK or similar games that have similar features. So we're going to talk about that. Whether or not you're a Machinima enthusiast, if you're someone who's thought about doing it before, or if you never will do it, hopefully you find this interesting in some way while we wait and go through some tips and tricks. Yeah, let's get it, y'all. Whoa, we got Hamlet in the chat. We got Joseph. Welcome. Hello, Stell. Nedrick. I don't think I've ever heard that. That's new. That's really new. So y'all, let's go. Let's get into this. Okay. So, let me pop into game, and I'm just gonna show you guys essentially what I'm talking about. We'll start with some basic stuff and talk about, what is Machinima? What does it mean? Because that term itself is almost a little unknown. So Machinima itself, before I get into the game, is essentially refers to machine cinema. And so basically it refers to kind of making movies or films with software, with 3D rendered software stuff. So typically, at least in the way that we think about it, I think in the gaming community, this is referring to games. So making little films with games, moving characters around. You could also think of source filmmakers, Machinima, using these 3D models in not exactly sort of filmy software where they, the cutting edge, highest quality stuff that they use for movies, but sort of software that you wouldn't necessarily expect cinema to be made using, I guess. So the main sort of, and by the way, Machinima itself, you've probably heard of Machinima because the company that failed miserably, there was this company called Machinima that, I don't know, basically they kind of lost their identity. They didn't really understand what Machinima was itself to begin with, allegedly, and eventually they sold off their rights to Warner Brothers or something. I don't really remember. But it's a classic term. It's been around for a while, since the days of early Minecraft, Machinima. And that was something I did even as a really young lad. I made some Minecraft Machinima videos. But that carried over to ARK eventually. And so I'm going to pop into game really quick. And I am sorry to my nephew who's going to get kicked off of Gang Beasts because he's using my library right now. Burn the pego, burn the pego, burn the pego, says Glitch Club. Bruce Squires, say I'm Batman. I will say I'm Batman in a totally normal voice because I spent some time screaming in my house for part 3 for some voiceover stuff you'll hear in it. Something regarding snails you'll find. So, game. Can we look at left monitor? Yes, we may. All right, let's get this looking normal. Let's see here. All right, so y'all, we are on the normal Steam version of ARK Survival Evolved. I want to make that clear. So we're going to pop into local server. We'll go on the island, right? Or rather, single player. And let's talk about Machinima. Let's talk about the stuff and things. So I already went over what Machinima is. Basically, it's this using like 3D game engines or sort of software, these types of engines to make cinema without the sort of cutting edge, like you wouldn't necessarily consider maybe Avatar Machinima, for example. Now, I of course make Arc Machinima, but how does Arc Machinima differ? Oh, we're lagging. The island. No, don't do this. Just give it a second. It's just taking its sweet time. Maybe maybe can we just low settings? Just every. Okay, I think we're good. Thanks for sticking with it. I don't know what happened there. Island is laggy when you first load it. But what I was saying is, unlike other hello floating jellyfish, unlike other Machinima, Arc Machinima is a little different, as any sort of rather as any game engine is going to be. If you're talking about making films on Arc, for example, you're going to have some wildly different features on different games. Just depends on what game you're trying to make the video on. So what I would recommend, first of all, if you want to do this, if you want to make silly little videos like I have been for 3 years, and you know, really it's like how the survival story started. One of the first things you do in terms of Arc is basically this spectator camera. So this is often, almost like 99% of the time, what I am using to shoot footage in Arc. So Arc has a spectator camera. Hello, Titanosaur. Other games might not have a spectator camera. They might just be first person or just third person. It really depends. When it comes to Arc, though, you've got this spectator. And this is something you can only do if you're in admin mode. So you have to be an admin on a server or be in single player or something like that. So this is spectator camera. You can sort of just fly around like anywhere. And as you can probably imagine, this is very useful for getting coverage, for getting shots of like just about anything. Hello, Tiago and Hamlet. Can't wait for part 3. Likewise. So it's hard to really like tell you guys exactly which order of things you'd want to learn. There isn't really an order. Everyone's going to learn differently. But what I can universally advise for anyone who wants to make little films, like no matter what you do, even if, you know, I feel like a lot of Arc players want to share what they're doing. And, oh gosh, it lags whenever I go into the jungle. But people don't always know how to. You know, a lot of us take screenshots and stuff, and I did that for a really long time. Because I feel like a lot of, well, from what I've seen, a lot of people want to, you know, share their experience while they're playing. You know, like have these windows or these like points in time of their gameplay that they can look back on. And that's itself a really cool thing. And that's something that I originally, early on, used Machinima for with Arc. And I think I've shown those videos on stream before, really early Netty the Noodle videos, where basically I would just make these cinematics based on the sort of me just playing the game, like playing through the game, like collecting resources and stuff like that. And that's fine too. Like that's a really cool little medium that you can use. I eventually moved on into trying to, you know, many years later, sorry for the framiness, trying to, you know, tell stories deliberately without, you know, with admin cheats and everything, and really setting up scenes as opposed to, you know, just trying to tell my own story of me playing the game. So, all right, let me turn this up. I'm probably gonna need to reduce some settings. Oh, you know what? This is on. Why? It is so, I don't know what my computer's doing. It's not looking good though. Oh, you know what? It's probably hardware acceleration. Oh, that's totally it. Give it a sec. Chrome. Oh, please. Oh, okay. It lags really bad when I pause the game. So, okay, this is a really great example of one of the first things we should talk about, beyond trying things out, which is that when you're trying to record stuff, you are going to run into so many problems, okay, like all the time. Your stream or whatever we'll do this horrible framiness that you will not understand. I don't even understand what's happening right now. I don't understand why when I pause the game, it just makes me laggy. That's a perfect example of the unpredictability of technical things that you're probably going to encounter when you're filming or doing anything like this. And also keep in mind, I think reasonably this is happening because of the stream. There's a lot of stream on PC because of that. But that said, we'll just not pause the game. So, hello Darth Maul. So, let's look at this. So first of all, the main first thing I wanted to go over is just try things, okay? That is like the best thing I can tell you. And honestly, the reason I want to talk about this is because I want more people to make stuff that I can watch, because I want more things to watch. And it's a little selfish, I know. I want to see your stuff. Like, I want to see your creations, because the art community has had a historically, like, terribly low number of people that do what I do, or that do what Up From the Depths does, or people like us that just literally just shoot footage in game and make Arc Machinima. And I would really love if there were more people that did this kind of thing, not even necessarily just with Arc, but with just games in general. I'm just a big Machinima fanboy. And I haven't even really watched much Red and Blue, I think, the Halo thing, which is kind of the origin of Machinima. But so let's talk about, okay, so trying things, right? So you literally just mess around, like literally just go on the beach, hold like the crouch button, so your camera tries to like find the lowest point, and just like exist. Like hit the record button and just like look at things, bro. Like just that's literally what I started out doing. So like if you want, you could like follow the movement of something. Yeah, I'm just holding like, D or right. Now another thing is people will ask like how I get things smooth. So that's where a gamepad would come in. So I'm gonna grab that really quick. I don't have it. So got this right here. Now you might be wondering, what is a gamepad? Well, it's really simple. A gamepad is any kind of controller at all that works. No, it doesn't even, it's still a controller if it doesn't work. But any kind of controller, whether it's PS3, PS4, Xbox One, literally like some off-brand aftermarket thing that like doesn't even have a name. ASA news, just like a new community. Yeah, I'm going to be going over the new community crunch when it comes out as soon as it does. But for now, I'm just spending some time trying to teach people about Machinima and my process. And some tips. So, okay, gamepad, right? This thing. This is I don't even have an Xbox One, but this is an Xbox One controller, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to plug it in. And I don't normally have it plugged in because I don't really use controllers much, other than when I'm playing on my TV, which I typically will like stream my computer to it. But, okay, so it's plugged in now, right? And now what you'll notice is I'm not using my keyboard anymore, I'm using the controller. There's this sort of insane ability to be very smooth with your movement now. So I'm using a gamepad right here, and as you can see, it's literally I'm just like very lightly, very slow. So the cool thing about gamepads, right, is that they have these things called thresholds. More like joystick dead zones is probably the right way to refer to it, or thumbsticks, whatever. But this means that you can have a consistent value for the speed at which the camera is turning. So, and of course, you can also, not only that, but you can also like turn it very smoothly in almost any, see how I'm looking like straight up and to the right here? So it's able to be pretty consistent if I hold my thumb steady. Hi, Raz. Hey, how are you, man? Welcome. We're waiting for the crunch in this stream and bestowing some knowledge about Arc Machinima. Welcome, welcome. Everyone greet Raz. Wish him well. Say hello to him. But yeah, so Dodo Gaming, right? So gamepads are really great. Why are there jellyfish in there? So that's a really good question. Yeah, 100% controller filming so much better. Absolutely. So the reason there's floating jellyfish here is because in single player, if you don't have this option on called prevent hibernation, single player Ark has this really bad bug. Well, it's not that bad, but it's this bug where jellyfish just spawn way higher than they're supposed to, and this only happens in single player, to my knowledge. It's really weird. So just launch without hibernation, and you'll be good. But nothing like flying on a griffin with dual analog. Yeah, for real. Console players know where it's at. They know what's up, okay? Because you just cannot get this same movement with a mouse. You could not if you tried. I mean, look at this, dude. It's just gross. It's gross. I could not make the survival stories if I didn't have my gamepad. I am holding this thing, at least 90% of the time that I'm shooting for the survival stories. If I'm not, then I'm just not holding anything, and it's usually just a still shot. Can you film on PlayStation and upload? So Dylan, if you're talking about recording clips on there and then directly uploading them, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think you can really edit to any degree more than some kind of Apple iMovie on a PlayStation. Even then, I don't know if that has that functionality. I'm not really informed there. But really, this is the type of thing that you want to have a computer for. So for people who want to do this, you might want to be getting into PC gaming sometime soon. Because that, even if it's not Ark, PC gaming is kind of where it's at to making this kind of stuff. Typically. Your PC all the way, but you play with a controller and a mouse. Oh, nice, Senji. Yeah, I get that. Wait, hold on. You play with a controller in your left hand and a mouse in your right hand? Like this? Oh, everything just died. Oh. What? What happened? What? Okay. Hopefully the stream's still online. Streamlabs OBS just froze entirely, so I don't know if the stream's still on. Let's see. Is it still on? Please, Streamlabs. Buddy. Yo, Streamlabs just broke. Oh, no, it is. It is still on. It's not responding at all. There's no, okay. I'm just going to, given that it still works. Wait, does it? Yeah, I think it still works. Okay, so I can't see it. It's totally broken, but I'm just going to pretend like it's there. So this is really, okay, that's fine. So let's continue. Maybe it'll sort itself out. All right, so let's talk about shot composition, okay? And since I don't have live feedback anymore because it's just straight up frozen, I'm going to have to just hope that it's working okay and that it's not super choppy. So shot composition. All right. So you've probably heard of rule of thirds before. And this is a real thing. It's pretty important. So rule of thirds. Let's talk about that. I don't know if I can really pull that up unless I could put something over my screen. So, okay, let's try this. You should be able to see this, I think, but let me know if you somehow do not. All right, so check it out. All right, imagine this is our frame, okay? And then we have these, let's make them red, okay? So they're these lines. Let's get can I just do a line? Yeah. Yeah, I don't use Photoshop, by the way, because I'm epic. No, I feel like I've realized that some people use Photoshop and it's just they're totally cool with it. And then others, I don't know what proportion of it is or people make up, but there's just some people that cannot stand Photoshop, and I'm one of those. So, all right, guys, check it out. This is the rule of thirds. I think you can see this, hopefully, maybe. Probably. Yes, I think you can. All right. So the rule of thirds, and this is gonna be sort of just a given. This is not to do with machinima or anything. This is just general shot composition. Thank you, Dylan. Take care. Hello, Rai. So let's look at this. So we got these 9 little squares here, right? And so it's basically a 3x3 grid. And for some reason, if we look at some of these little cross sections, right? The reason this is important is because humans, we tend to look in these 4 little corners of a frame, okay? And now in this example, right, this is a 16:9 aspect ratio, right? So you got 16, right, 16:9. But this still applies, even if it's like a perfect square, right? So that's the camera. So even if this was like 9:9 or 16:16, whatever, right? It's a perfect square. These would sort of just be scrunched together and it would still be there, this sort of rule of thirds. So why is this? I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. It's just like a fact of humans that we look in these 4 little corners. And if you didn't know about, well, I guess you could call them corners. Technically, these are the corners down here. But if you didn't know about this, now you do. Again, it's just like one of those weird things like, okay, but what does it mean? So, okay, let's test this out, right? Why does that matter? All right, let's show you, all right? So if we have this frame, right? This is like, this is like mildly kind of ugly, right? The points of interest are not in the corners, right? Or the little cross section things. So like, okay, it's like whatever. We got a lot of these rocks in sort of the borders, right? But then what if now I've placed the rocks in the sort of in those little areas, kinda. This is a bad example because this is just like a dumb shot. Like, why would you look down at rocks? So let's try this with a better thing. We'll also reduce the FOV. I'm going to talk about FOV in just a second because it's very important. Okay, so let's look at this dodo. Maybe we can slow it down or just get some more dodos. We'll just summon some stationary dodos so that you can tell what's going on. All right, here's some dodos. I don't know what they're doing, but they're dodos. Okay, so now look at this, all right? This is a super good example. So we've got these 2 dodos here, but you'll notice, right? They're not in those little crossovers, okay? They're in like the corners. The one on the right is kind of in the bottom right corner, right? And then the one on the left is kind of in the bottom left corner, right? But the one on the right is even higher up, so it looks pretty bad, right? But if we take a step back and we try and put these in those corners, so, all right, so we're just remember that rule of thirds, envision what that looked like, right? So if we look back at it, right, so we got these 4 corners here. Right, now we look at this shot, we sort of line that up. You're gonna notice that just looks better. Like it just totally does. This is like a fact of human brains. Let me know what you think in the chat, actually. Don't let me persuade you. What do you think is better? This frame, if I see CC here, I'll copy those coordinates, or this frame here, right? So SPI, we've got that, and then this is like the CCC sheet SPI. All right, so like thoughts? What do we think? Which is better? Do you see what I mean? I want to see your reactions. Humans are weird that way, yeah. Also, hello, Jessica, welcome. So, okay, we've got our dodos in the little spots. Now, what can we do to make it even better, right? Well, let's think. So, if we want an even cooler dodo shot, what if we had them in more corners? Or rather, if we somehow put them... Oh, this would be hard. It's wild that makes such a difference. Right. That's really cool. I'm glad you can see that. So, let me try and find a shot. So... This isn't that great, but it kind of looks all right. It looks decent. And I think I can talk a little bit about why I think it might look pretty decent. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this shot really quick. Right. And plop this in here. Okay. So there's something called, I believe, it's called the Fibonacci sequence. Let me make sure I'm get that right. Fibonacci sequence. Yeah, okay. So it's like this weird thing, this math thing, right? Yeah, rule of thirds is basic video/videography. Yeah, Ken, you're right. It is very basic, and it is surprising also how many people don't know what it is or know much about it. And I certainly didn't know anything about it when I was starting out for the first year or two of making videos, of making the survival stories especially. So I don't know if this really, it might be something to do with the Fibonacci sequence, where this, to me at least, looks really aesthetically pleasing to sort of have these, it's sort of, yeah, the spiral, right? So it sort of works because they're essentially along these lines. In the spiral, the general, this is my very crappy Fibonacci sequence. Have there been any news on ASA yet? If not, when do you expect them to drop? Should be in about 30 minutes. Yeah, we're just going over this stuff until the crunch comes out. So I'll be refreshing it. Should be coming out very soon. But sound is out of sync on the Xbox Game Bar one. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, that's why I'm saying, you know, for sure, as much as many of you are on console, to do this kind of thing, you definitely want to be on a computer, because it just gives you so many more tools to be able to, you know, make things with, right? Make your stories, and that's kind of what it's about, storytelling. So, all right, let's take a look at the next thing. So that's just some basic shot composition, rule of thirds, the Fibonacci sequence. You know, the basic idea is just when we have things in the right spots that we like to see, they just look better. You went to college for 3D, and video has nothing but everything to do with my job. That's awesome, Ken. I also, well, I'm studying, about to graduate next year in mass media, which is where I learned a lot of the stuff. And yeah, it is super fun, but also generally very helpful if that's sort of where you work, if that's your area. So now let's talk about focus and depth of field, blurs, that kind of thing. So now it's gonna be a little crappy because I'm really low resolution, resolution scale, but it's, bear with me. It doesn't look too bad when we mess around with this stuff, even despite the resolution. Petro Library, you're talking about the Windows Xbox game. Oh, okay, gotcha. My bad. I thought that was an Xbox thing. In that case, if you're on Windows, definitely check out OBS. It's what I use. It's a little complicated, but if you spend a while with it, you know, you'll eventually get to know it. Man, screaming about snails earlier destroyed my voice. Hello, Ghost VR. Okay. Netty will be the best non-mainstream media source. Oh, okay. Thank you, Ari. All right, so let's get to the blurs, y'all. Check out this blur, man. Okay, so I need to get something off my chest about blurs, and especially blurring in the ARC community. Okay, so I'm not gonna point fingers or say names, but I haven't mentioned slow-mo. I absolutely will. That's a really good, that's a super good thing to mention. I'm going to mention that very soon, right after this. So I'm not going to say names, but there are some videos I've seen that have sort of a haphazard approach when it comes to blurs. Approach that's like, it was not necessarily grounded in like a particular reason. It's just kind of slapped on there. So, you can change blurring effects by pressing delete while you're in spectator camera on PC. And then you have this whole menu with depth of field, and you can change things. You have these mapped settings and stuff. So you can actually save presets of how the blur works. I'm not going to play with it right this second, but I've got a few presets myself here. So this is one that really blurs the, did we just switch to the Nintendo Switch version? Basically, yeah, how it was before. It's a lot better now. But in this case, the background is super out of focus, right? So it's way out of focus. The focus is on the foreground. And then this setting is really cool. I like this. I use this one a lot in part 3 and just in the recent Aberrations Travel Stories in general. This is basically, it blurs the foreground, but only in the very close foreground. So you'll notice like just this tree here is super blurry, but then the background is, you can see pretty well. So then I've got 7, which doesn't really, that turns it off. 1, which again, these are just my presets, so you're not going to have these exactly. But I've got this one where it kind of makes things a little sparkly, but they're like a little bit blurry far away, but not too blurry. I think this is like my classic, very old school survival story blur. 2, I don't remember what 2 does. 4 again does that. So yeah, I really don't have many. I think 6 is like super close up in focus, and then everything else is super blurry. But these are really important when you want to place emphasis on specific objects, specific characters. So it's super important for y'all to, if you want to make this kind of stuff and you want to tell your own stories and make little cinematics, I super encourage it. And I want to see them and send them to me, please. But really understanding how to use depth of field and use blurs is integral to making some really cool stuff that's beyond just like holding W with no filters, no depth of field, just like, for zooming forward on the island map or on any map, without any movement, etc. Right. So for example, like we could take this shot of like a dodo. This is like a decent frame, whatever, right? Going forward, it's like, okay, no depth of field or whatever. But then if we use all the things I've been mentioning, right? We turn on if we go real close up, and I would probably change this a little bit because it's a bit distracting. Maybe we'll use 4, yeah. And then we use the gamepad too, right? If we're sort of like moving and panning, and it can be a little like weird sometimes. So be careful with the way that you use this for sure. But you can get a lot more creative than just like, pressing W, right? Do you have tutorials on your channel for this stuff? No, Neon, but that's actually something I super want to do, and I'm going to be actually making a Machinima documentary, like a little mini doc on Machinima. I've interviewed loads of people involved, including Patty Maz, who is actually the lead cinematic guy at Face Punch. I don't know his exact job title yet, or right this second. But he does all of Rust's trailers, right? That PvP game where everyone's like naked and they fight each other with rocks. Super cool guy. I got to interview him, and he talked a lot about his own process and how they do the Rust trailers. And I've also interviewed Mark Soskin, the writer of Arc. Asked him a little bit about Machinima, that kind of stuff. And I've talked to Up From the Depths, a couple different people about this kind of thing. So I want to really get my knowledge and research out there about Machinima and stuff. I just don't know if it'll be on this channel necessarily. We'll see. It probably will. But for now, yeah, I super love talking about this stuff, and I hope that people can find this useful. So Raz Clark had mentioned something about slow-mo, and I want to talk about that too because it's super, super valuable to go over. So slow-mo, okay. This is a Unreal Engine type thing. I don't know if all UE games had this, or if this is like a thing that Unreal 4 added specifically, and basically all of them have it. Or I'm not really sure where it comes from, but it's not just an Arc thing. So if we type cheat, and you can't actually see what I'm typing in the console because my webcam's in the way. Let me maybe move that. Oh, my Streamlabs responding. Yay. All right, I'm going to be up here now. So let's look down there. You probably can't see very well. I'm going to type cheat slow-mo 0.5, okay? So this goes from 0, basically, if you do slow-mo 0, like nothing. I think it caps it. It requires it being like 0.0001 or something. But we do slow-mo 1. That's just normal speed, right? And then slow-mo can go all the way up to 10. If you do 100, nothing changes from 10 because it does not go past 10, right? So it goes from like 0.001 to 10. And what it does is it essentially in the game, I believe there's this thing called tick speed or tick rate. And basically this like tick speed influences how fast all of the sequences of events that happen in the game like ever. Like this tick speed is responsible for like how fast they work, how fast they go, they display, do anything basically, even like opening the inventory, just about everything. And the consequence of that, I don't know if, that was added for optimization or whatever, but the consequence for that is what it means is you can go in like, 0.5, so almost 0.5, and now you're at half speed. And literally everything, the only thing that I've found that this doesn't change is it doesn't dynamically change the pitch or the speeds of sounds. So if, dodo_3.wav plays because the game has decided now the dodo needs to chirp, the dodo doesn't go burp, 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 burp. You know, it doesn't like slow down its chirping. It's the same exact wave. That's like, audio is like the only thing that I found that slow-mo doesn't change. But everything else does, right? The animation, right? This dodo's moving half the speed. Even the rate at which you can move the camera is slower, generally. So Neon, dude, I watched the heck out of them. I love cinematic views for games. Just can't find good tutorials. So I love the passion. Thank you. Thanks, Neon. I appreciate it. Welcome. So it's shocking how much better the PC version can look than the PS4. Yeah, for sure. And Zach, that's really just sort of a fact about, you know, computers is like, because, you know, generally they're more expensive than consoles, and with that allows people to buy their own sort of powerful equipment, powerful parts to power this kind of graphical fidelity. I say that as there's floating Nidaria in the sky. Also keep in mind, I have my resolution down scale turned way down right now. But so slow-mo, all right, why is it important though? Beyond like, I've talked about what it does. Why is it important? Well, funny you should ask that. So slow-mo is super valuable for one main reason. Yeah, exactly what Raz just said in the chat. So it's super valuable for getting perfect frame rate. So I just capped my FPS to 30, which by the way, you can do by typing t.max FPS 30 in the console. And you can cap it to anything. Just don't cap it to like 0 because your game literally will freeze. If you cap your frames per second to 0, your game no longer has any frames, and I'm pretty sure you'd have to force close it. So just don't do 0. 1 is like, okay, at least you can wait a second. But so for example, all right, let's go to 30, and then I'm gonna move my camera down so you can actually see my frame rate. All right, you see up there, it's probably hard to see, but it's like this green thing that I've enabled in Steam. I can talk about that if you're curious. So now we're in half speed. Now, what's cool here is like I'm at 30 FPS, and what's half of 60? 30, right? What is 2 times half speed, or 0.5? 1, right? So what that means, or rather, not 2. If you speed up 0.5 slow-mo by 200%, then it becomes 1, right? It becomes slow-mo 1. And so if I get this shot of the strike and he's like gaming and I'm like, wee, whoa, all right, cool. That's a trike. So let's say I shot that, then 0 frames new meta. So then I can put that into Premiere, right? Or any editor pretty much, as long as you have the ability to speed up the footage, which pretty much anything does. Then you precisely double the speed, right? So it becomes 200%, and then you've got this 60 FPS slow-mo 1 stuff, footage, right? And try this. If any of you are interested in doing this thing and have ever messed around with spectator mode or making Mark Machinima, seriously try this the next time you make something, because it means that you have twice as much time to think while you're recording, while you're shooting. So for any shot, you're able to react essentially twice as fast as if you were freaking, the Flash. Maybe not that fast, but, pretty fast, because you're essentially, the footage you're actually going to get is like your brain times 2, right? In real time, if that makes sense. So, like Raz said, it's super useful, not only for getting consistent frame rate, but just sometimes for pulling off certain shots. Cool effect you've done a few times is set in-game time to an insanely high speed, then slow-mo 0.2. In-game time. Oh, that's so interesting. That's wild. That must be cool. That's sweet. Yeah, because everything's slow, but also things are moving, like the sky's moving super fast. That must be weird. But yeah. Should you make a ARC PS5 and PC roleplay series called The ARC A New Hope? I could not tell you. That is on you. Could ARC run on every console known to man if it capped at 1 FPS? Mayhaps. Mayhaps. You have ARC open. Indeed, I do. So anyway, back to this. So for the slow-mo thing, one last thing about slow-mo is if you go in, so let's say quarter speed. So this is 0.25 speed. And then even, let's say if we wanted to get this sort of perfect 60 FPS when it's sped up, and we don't want to worry about invariability. Let's say I'm capped to 15 FPS. Look at this 15 FPS gameplay. Ugh. All right. So I'm currently in quarter speed, and I'm also quartering the FPS of 60. Oh, okay. I guess just got a really cinematic shot of a Lystra pooping. So that shot, again, the big thing there, I think one of the really cool things beyond trying to get the consistent FPS is it gives you time to like look at that poop, I guess. Or in better, more practical cases, it gives you time to time, someone shooting an arrow and a dinosaur dying. If you need a dino to die in one shot, right? That's OG art. If you need a dino to die, like as soon as it gets shot by one arrow and it's not already almost dead, you can literally have a body actor right next to that dino, get cheat, kill typed up, right? And then because if you're in quarter speed, you're like, all right, shoot the arrow, and then the arrow hits the rat. Okay, this is oddly specific because this is literally what we did in part 3 when character kills a mole rat. He shoots it in the eye, and then it dies instantly. And the way that we did that was we shot it in quarter speed, I believe. Maybe just did half speed, but I'm pretty sure we did quarter to get really, really solid. And then, you're able to get the timing super spot on so that when you speed it up by 4, basically, times 4, it's at normal speed, normal 60 FPS, and yet you just had like 4 times the human response time, okay? How do people do those free cams? Like you're building, but your camera's in a fixed position watching as you... Oh, okay. So Neon, what you're asking about is basically how do people do a camera that's like floating around as they build? And it's basically like super sped up, but you can see the actual character building. Is that what you're asking? So in that case, that's a really good question. So I've never done that before, but there's a few ways I can imagine that being done. So first of all, something that we play around with, that I've been playing around with just in part 3 alone, and I've never touched it before now, is this thing called the camera director. And this is with dev kit stuff, so this is way beyond your typical Arc Machinima. But I've been, and you're going to see this in part 3 in some really sweet sequences that I cannot wait for you all to see, where the camera is actually deliberately, it's like I've basically made little scenes where I move the camera around and I pick different positions that it goes along a timeline, and it basically just, flies between those positions. And so, of course, if you imagine what that can be used for in this case, you could set up, and this would generally, you'd want to do it through the use of a map extension, which is I have a lot of experience now in map extensions. So you could set up a matinee basically, and a matinee is just the really ancient Arc dev kit's version or word for a sequencer, which is basically the way that we call it in normal Unreal Engine. So you put a camera here and you have it move extremely slowly all the way. Let's say you put it like make one keyframe here when it's looking like this, make one keyframe up here where it's looking down, and then make another keyframe like right here where it's like looking this way. And then over time, and you make it go along a timeline of like, make this matinee literally last like 2 hours or something, right? So what that's going to do is as soon as you activate it, and you'd have to do some extra logic, and maybe I'll make a mod for that. Maybe that'll be a native feature in ASA. We'll see. But it would slowly go along this track ever so slowly, right? Extremely slowly. But what you could then do is just you'd need another camera to do this. So if you're building something, right, you have to be there as another character, and then you just build your thing, right? And then what you do is you just have that camera recording all that, and then just speed it up in post. That's generally the main way, because obviously people don't build in like slow-mo 10 in real time. That would be kind of impossible. So obviously, it's just a person building in normal time, and then it's being sped up. Unless, all right, now, so that's one scenario. The second one is a lot more like nobody really can do this, because this isn't really logic built in, and nobody's really ever made a mod for this to my knowledge. The only other way is, I believe Minecraft has a mod for this, where they essentially save like the data of how a character moved around and like built stuff and acted in the game world. That might be another way that it's done, but that also sounds really taxing on the system, or rather it would take up a lot of space, because it has to log the entire path and like the entire save and the way that the save was changed over a period of time, and then it does the whole render in real time while slow-mo. I don't know. So probably the first option. Okay. Your brother records it, then he sends you the file, so that's how you do it in like funny console way. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's workarounds with recording sequences and, you know, making machinima and stuff with consoles that allow you to do it. But generally, you know, like I've been saying, you're going to want a PC for that kind of thing. All right, I've been refreshing for the crunch, seeing nothing yet. So let's move on to the next topic. That was slow-mo, and like I said, it's super useful for a lot of ways, especially if you know how to use it. All right, so now let's talk about panning. Not gold panning, like you may, probably nobody thought of that, but not gold panning. In fact, panning of the camera. Let me wait for this darn rain to go away. And by the way, historically, because there's no command to disable rain on the island, during filming of the island survival stories, we had to slow-mo 10 basically every time it rained and just wait. And I was like, all right, everyone hold still, because everyone becomes like extremely fast. If you look at that parasaur there, everyone becomes super fast. And when you have this chat filled with like 20 people and you're like, guys, don't move, everyone moves. And so be mindful of that. But yeah, slow-mo 10 and then slow-mo 1. Slow-mo 10 will make rain go away in like a minute instead of like 12 minutes. So, oh, look at these mantas. That's a dead manta. Okay. So let's talk about panning, all right? What I'm doing right now is panning. Check out this panning. It's probably making you a little disoriented. It certainly is making me disoriented. So panning is this thing that I've had a really weird relationship with this for a long time. You'll notice in the early survival stories, pretty much every single shot was like moving, right? The camera was moving. Either the camera was the position was moving like this, right, where the actual the position of the camera in the game world was moving, or just the rotation of the camera, right? So we're gonna stay in the same position, but the rotation was moving like this, or you could literally have both at the same time, and this is a common like cinematic, like epic cinematic effect, right? So we have both the position and the rotation panning and updating in real time, right? And again, I'm just doing this by like, in this case, what I often do is I just use the controller as a mouse instead of using the controller for both. So what I'll usually do is I'll have, you know, my hands on like, you know, WASD and then use this as just the mouse, right? And then I can hold control to slow it down. Yeah. So that's a lot of pans. Another tip, set day speed to 0.0001. Oh yeah. Super, yeah. What Raz just said, that's actually something we do for filming nowadays. We have been. Hello, sir. We have been doing that for a while, for at least like probably maybe a year now. All the way back on normality, because when you're filming like this, when you're making these kinds of sequences, you want to have lots of control, and one very important thing to really realize, and this is just like a life thing, but it's very important to know that like we don't really control anything. You can't control people. You have no control over like the world, what happens, whether it rains in real life or rains in the game, right? But understanding that and just knowing that you do at least control your body and your mind, hopefully, then understanding that and like leaning into it, that I think allows you to have a better mindset when you're making these kinds of things, because it can be very, very frustrating a lot of the time. It can be sweaty. All right, there's so many sessions that have been sweaty and difficult, and things go wrong. Getting a random call from Virginia. Things go wrong. New basilisk looking fire. Wait, what? There's a. Okay. I thought you were talking about new crunch. Okay. But yeah, like I said, things go wrong. Okay. And it's a lot. And over time you can get really good at it if you don't, really good at avoiding the things that go wrong and making it so that less things go wrong. But it takes patience and it takes a lot of practice. So why I only catch you live when drunk? Are you drunk? Or are you saying I'm drunk? You just grilled some hot dogs, brats, and burgers. What are brats? is that, where are you from? What does that mean? First the jellies, now the type. Your island is cursed. Yeah, it really is. This is what happens when you're on single player. Single player is like truly cursed. It's a really cursed game mode because Ark was designed as a multiplayer game, and single player is like this really cursed amalgamation that like streams in dinosaurs in a really weird way. You wish we got a new Bascos. Gotcha. So, panning. All right, back to it. I need to sort of finish up my thought here. So panning, you want to use it very deliberately. Be very careful, because if you're always panning, your viewer is probably going to get a little bit dizzy. And that's something I was very conscious of in the early survival stories videos that we made, and I was very self-conscious about it. I was just like always freaking out, even though I was still doing it. I was doing it all the time. Scorched Earth was the worst because I was like, so after we finished the island, I was like, all right, so I'm gonna do a better job and like be more creative and not just pan everywhere and have the camera like this weird dizzy camera thing. And then I was like, when we started filming Scorched Earth, I was already doing it. And I was like, wait a second, I just like instinctually did it. And then I was like, well, I can't go back now. So I just finished up with almost no still shots. And the reason this is a bad thing generally is because it's kind of the easy way out. It's kind of the lazy way to do it. And it's kind of just the way like, okay, let's just like kind of be present, but not really be present. Like we're just kind of present. Yeah. Like we're just like kind of circling around this Pteranodon. Like, hey, look, it's a Pteranodon. Like, whoa, like check it out. Yeah. You can see all these angles. Neat. That was basically my instinctual mindset. And it's kind of the lazy way to do it. And it's also mildly disorienting for probably a lot of people, but I never really got the data. Nobody really ever commented about it in videos. So instead, what is a pip shot that's not panning? Well, it's a still shot. I mean, it's just a shot that doesn't move, right? So that's a shot. There you go. Or this is a still shot. And aberration was when I finally was like, okay, yeah, now it's time that we can start doing this, because I put my foot down and was like, yeah, Crunch is live? Yo? Oh my God, it is. Whoa! Hold on, let's take a look. All right, we are done here. We are done. Am I still lagging? No, I think I'm good. Crunch, y'all! It's a Rinignatha. Oh my God, that thing is huge. Oh, it's like a giant crab, flying crab. Welcome to another edition of the Community Crunch. All right, let's check it out. Discover the Rinignatha, a supersized creature with a set of unique abilities, from producing a quick hardening resin to being capable of carrying large objects around your base. These versatile creatures provide an unparalleled enhancement to your tribe's defenses. I'm probably going to make this my wallpaper. See you later, Raz. Have fun. Just got to go make his video on it. This Crunch doesn't suck. Maybe? Well, I guess we'll see. Genesis on the Switch. Whoa. I'm totally going to set this as my wallpaper. But, okay. So that's it. That's that. It's not really an ASA thing, but yeah. Switch news and announcements. So Small Tribe servers launched this week on Nintendo Switch. Small Tribe servers are capped at 6 members per tribe with increased rates. See below for a list of servers. Okay. I'm not sure how many Switch players there are. I'm curious about that statistic. Ark Genesis on Switch, on Nintendo Switch. Here's the first look at Ark Genesis Part 1 on Nintendo Switch. With a strangely familiar companion, you must overcome these simulations' rigorous tests. Only by fighting, building, taming, and exploring will you uncover the secrets behind this forbidding place. The release for Gen Part 1 on Switch is coming next week. Stay tuned to the Nintendo Switch Twitter account. Whoa, they did it, y'all. Wonder if they'll acknowledge T's banning. Nah, no chance. Evo event. Wow, that's it. Nothing on ASA. I have a feeling it's not coming out in August. I have a feeling it's getting delayed. And I'm like, it is what it is. If that happens. Which I'm pretty darn sure will. We got a creator, Cypher Sam, Elvin Healer, Playground. Whoa, that's a pretty sweet build. Got some Featherlight fan art. Little Limantria dude. A very large and happy chicken. That's a nice little drawing. Sweet sketch. Is that a... Wait, is this a render or a painting? This is a painting? It's like the combination of a render and a painting. This is wild. Hi, Leo Arc. Something you've been wanting to ask, but I haven't caught a stream. Why does the Arc maps have the... Why do the Arc maps have the ruins by the Explorer notes, but no remnants of builds? Because they didn't really put much into trying to make like solid buildings that represented like where the survivors lived and stuff. Because the what I can assume, which I don't know if this is the case, but I'm just assuming that the writer for most of the Explorer notes was not really in contact with the environmental level designers and stuff. Or at least probably didn't have much contact, and maybe they just didn't have time to like work out where the survivors actually lived. This is a cool little screenshot, or not screen, little piece. Are these otters? I think they're otters. What did it say? Ragnarok by Wolftech. It's okay, fellas. Old Bean got the cake. The cake is... Aww. Dude. Part 3 is so freaking sad. It is so sad that I've... Well, okay. It's not... it's probably not as sad as part 2. Maybe it is because it doesn't have like the wacky like facial animation thing during the really sad moment. You'll see. But okay, this just evokes part 3 feelings. And if you know the story of Aberration, then you know why. This artist is amazing, by the way. Sir Fritz of TARDIS. Rini Ignatha gives you egg dragon vibes. Ooh, okay. Basilisk screenshot. Okay. I like the way the little tail goes into the water. Oh, okay. Untitled. Gotcha. And a Genesis picture. There you go. Beautiful. Exquisite. Classic Fuego render that we got here. This is pretty wild though. I can't believe this is being added to Arc like 8 years after launch of this freaking game, man. It's wild. Key art. Where's the Rini Ignatha? I wanna download a full resolution. No Rini Ignatha release date. I'm pretty sure it's coming in June, right? I believe. But you can download the wallpaper. I'm gonna put it in the chat. I will put it in the chat for y'all if you want to download this yourselves. Check it out. But one Beefy Dodo asks, when will the animated series come out? You thought they said it will be out in early 2023. You know, it's probably because no streaming platform have picked them up, but still. Honestly, man, I have no freaking clue. I don't know what's going on. Nobody really does when it comes to like animated series. ASA. You're loving those eyes. Yeah, this thing looks sick. Kind of reminds me of like a Zelda enemy. And that's awesome because I love Zelda. This is super cool though. It's like a Quetzal. It can pick up, brings back the Rex's riding on Quetzal vibes. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. That's insane. Who doesn't love a good old crustacean claw? Yeah, flying crab. Man, what a cool idea for a creature. Why'd they make the thing so damn big? Yeah, it's pretty horrifying. Like, imagine if this was flying towards your freaking base, man. Like, I'm gonna get you. That is scary. That is. Guys, I have not played Ark in so long. Like, okay, sure, my Steam will tell you that I last played today, of course. Before this, I mean, probably opened the game yesterday or something. But when I say like I haven't played the game in like forever, I'm talking about like actually playing the game, like, you know, being a survivor, gathering resources, leveling up, building a base, all that, right? Playing on an actual world. And it's not something I've done in like since last summer. And I miss it. I miss it a lot. Obviously, the reason is because the survival stories have become just the main focus. I no longer do gameplay videos. I'm not on Monarchy. I don't make Journey's Core videos anymore. I don't play on it because we already essentially got through all the maps. I'm almost max level on there. But I miss it so much. Looks like it dug its claws into the wreck side. Yeah. Oh, that's scary. That's brutal. But, man. I just wish I could show y'all part 3 so bad right now, but my team has advised me to be very careful and not share some stuff that they're like even freaking out about, because they're like, all right, don't show them the insane stuff that is here that the animator and just everyone who's worked on it has done so far. But just know, like, I don't know, I bring up the whole gameplay thing because it'd be really nice to play again and to share in that experience with all of you after part 3, after the survival stories are over. And, you know, I know lots of you want to see more survival stories, and I completely understand that. I've said, you know, on Twitter a while ago and in more recent videos, the survival stories may not be over on Aberration for good. It's very unlikely that they'll continue, but it's not ruled out completely. The survival stories, the main central idea of it sort of is built on the format, right? So like the survival stories is about showing the survivors of ARK and their explorer notes and like the exact words that they said and the experiences that they went through based on what they read about or wrote about. And the format that we use to show that is this narration style where the character's reading the voiceover and we show the footage, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because if we continue the survival stories for Extinction, it will be an equally lengthy, you know, maybe 1 year long process if we do it the same way. You know, where it's this, basically we sort of rebuild stuff based on the story, and there's no the limitations, or rather the requirements to what we have to do to tell the story to make is based like almost down to a T on the exact words that they write, right? Whereas, so that's the format issue, right? So if we continued that format, we would be super restricted and like have to do some really time consuming stuff. And that's just not something that I will necessarily be that interested in probably in like a year or something, because I might have some majorly different projects that I'm working on for you guys. Also, thank you, Neon, so much for the $5 super chat. Can't wait for part 3. Me neither. I'm super excited for y'all to see it very soon. We are getting to that point. Like I said, June 2nd is where you're going to see the trailer. So that's literally in... Look, guys, that's in 1 week. The trailer, which is going to announce when it's actually coming out, which is going to be later in June. And that's going to give us the time that we really need to finish this up, because we're about 95% of the video is edited. All the footage that I've shot so far is edited, which makes up overwhelming majority of the video. The only remaining stuff is some very specific fight sequence that is still being worked on. That's very visceral and sweet. And then the sound effects and the audio pass, and that's something we'll be working on later in June. So, yeah, for the future of the survival stories, maybe we'll see. But otherwise, generally, we're gonna you know, focus on ARK lore, just the game itself, ASA, all that kind of stuff when it comes out, and hopefully it does on time, because I know you guys want to play it just as much as I do and all the other YouTubers. But yeah, where's this? Let's get this going. So thanks for tuning into the stream, guys. We looked at the crunch. It's not that exciting. I'm gonna be real with y'all. That's a cool render from Fuego, but you know, we all like the crunches when they actually have content in them, and this clearly doesn't have almost anything beyond, you know, the announcement of Genesis. I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry about that. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for experiencing this underwhelming crunch with me. And I'll talk to you next time, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you, Neon, for the super chat, and I'll catch you next time.